Well, hello, this is Alexa, and I am so excited to talk with Ellen Fondiler because she is an amazing woman who came into my life through my dear friend, our dear friend, Alexandra Franzen. And I was so taken with her spirit. She is an entrepreneur. She's a career strategist. She is a coach. She does workshops, and she really helps people overcome this moment in their lives when you're going to make a career transition and you're feeling stuck. And there's something that you say, Ellen. Well, first of all, welcome, Ellen.
Thank you.
Hi,
Alexa.
So happy to have you here. You know, I was reviewing your website briefly, and before I jumped on the Zoom, and what I love that you kind of highlight right at the top of your webpage is like that you said, you know, and I'm just going to quote this: I believe that you were born to do energizing, meaningful work. Anything less is a waste of your time and your talents. And I thought, like, yeah, that's what I want to talk to you about today.
Totally.
I think it's so cool that you help people with this, because it's literally something that comes up for a lot of people who are wishing because they're like afraid to wish. They're afraid of what they're going to see that's different from what's in front of their nose right now. Do you find that you deal oftentimes with a lot of people's fear?
Oh, all the time dealing with people's fear. One of the hardest things to do in life is to make changes. When we're younger, we tend to be more carefree. You know, we tend to do things because we don't think about what could go wrong. But, you know, as we get older, we have other responsibilities and we have a lot of blockages. We call them, I use a process in my work called design thinking. And it's about moving forward with actively designing. It's using action to create whatever life you want to create, as opposed to thinking. But one of the things that design thinking talks about are dysfunctional thoughts. What gets in the way of you really moving forward? What are things you learned from childhood? There's only one job you should have in your life, even if you're not happy. If you have a good paying job, you shouldn't leave it. You know, things that you need to sort of reframe to help you move forward. And, you know, as you know, people have such capacity to change their lives. And I help, as you do, people set intentions and then, you know, go out in the world and prototype them to see if those are the things that they want to do. So it's similar to, you know, you were lying on the floor. I was listening to some of your podcasts last night, and, you know, you had this idea for, you know, really, is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
And, oh yeah, when I was an actress. Yeah, for sure.
And slowly over time, you had the you know, Wishbeads download. But, you know, it's not easy to move forward with those ideas.
Well, it's true. And I mean, I can even share with my own journey when I was acting and I had put so much energy and effort into this career, and it was kind of in one way going well. And I was so immediately concerned about, like, what are my agents going to say if I choose to do something else? And what are my parents going to say? Like, I was like an adult. So I, you know, but that was sort of a thought, like, they've watched me build this career, or my husband or my friends, or, you know, all these other factors came out. And for me anyway, I like overlapped a lot of the things that I did. I didn't just like have this big dramatic moment and it happened all at once. An opening presented itself. And then while I was still acting, I started building my coaching and teaching career. And even still, I'm still a teacher. I mean, I still have students and I still work with students. But there is this overlap, but it's that weird, like, other layer that is that nagging voice, that what you're calling dysfunctional thinking. What is what's the first step for people to just become aware of, in a way, that mental box that they've put themselves in? Do you have like a suggestion just to get people to kind of snap out of it?
Sure. Well, you know, one of the things, the way that the process that I use is this Designing Your Life process that was created by 2 Stanford professors. And it's a course at Stanford called Designing Your Life. And first, we look at your life close in. We look to see what energizes you and what engages you. Clearly, people are coming to me because they want to change in their life. they're either hearing a whisper, I really need to paint, or I really need to just do something different. I'm just not happy. I can't do this anymore. And it takes a lot of back and forth for people to finally say, I'm going to do this. So we start by looking at your life close in, and we look at what engages you, what energizes you, and then we iterate outwards, and we do mind mapping, and we do 5-year plans, and we look at some of the things that you're maybe dreaming about and what the universe is maybe whispering to you. But the things that we try to clear up are these dysfunctional thoughts. And in this process, there are 2 different kinds. One's a gravity problem where can't do anything about it, so you just have to accept it. You're too short, you want to play basketball, you're a poet, you want to make lots of money. You know, it's just gravity. You have to just accept it. But the other one is an anchor problem. And anchor problems are more where you focus on, you think there's only one solution to what it is you want to do. So there's only one way to do it, and you get stuck. So a simple example might be you have a garage filled with crap, and you really want to make it into a studio. And every time you walk in, you got this garage filled with crap. And you just say, there's no way I can, I don't know how to deal with this. As opposed to renting a storage space, cleaning out half the garage, you know, all sorts of ways we can, and that's like a very simple thing. Sure. But often it's, for real life things, it's money issues. It's, I should know what I'm doing by now.
Oh yeah.
I know what my purpose is, what's wrong with me. And it's just really important to reframe those things by realizing we all have so many lives in us and so many ways to be happy. And it's not just one thing. And once you embrace that, once you sort of realize that you have the freedom to choose and you'll figure it out and you will work it out, it just releases so much resistance.
Yeah. And I love that. I'm, you know, a few things that when you were talking, do you find that people aren't really, that there's also this layer of fear of letting your inner circle know where you're struggling really?
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. People feel shame. What's wrong with me? Why everybody, it's sort of the Instagram problem.
Yes.
You look on Instagram and it looks like everybody else is having a great life except you. And they're having a great vacation except you, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And it's an illusion. It's just an illusion. But people do feel shame, and they feel what's wrong with me. And they feel often that they can't tell their parents that they're not happy, because really a lot of parents just want you to have a good job and be settled, you know, check. And so it's a dilemma. And I think that we also often listen to voices that aren't our own. Of course. It's so important to hear your own voice. You know, I've had I'm like the queen of reinvention. I've done many, many different careers, and each one, I just like heard this like little whisper, it was serendipity. And I love talking to people about what they do and why they do it. And so often it's serendipity. You just talk to somebody and have a conversation, or you're in a coffee shop and you see a little card on a bulletin board, or something just like snags you. Yeah. And whatever reason, in that moment, on that day, you take the next step.
Yeah. And it's almost like just cultivating just a little wee bit of curiosity about it, that it doesn't have to be this big dramatic, I'm changing my life. And I'll give you a little example in my own world, which is I really have wanted to spend just time doing something creative that had nothing to do with work. And that was really for me. You know, I'm also a mom. I know you're a mom, but my guys are still, you know, they're like, you know, doing baseball. Like I'm still in the whole, the show. And so I do a lot of things that are in service to their needs and whatever, which I enjoy, but I really wanted to do something for myself. And so I finally signed up for, and I'm starting next week, ceramics class.
I love it.
And I'm not like doing like a little ceramics class, because of course I heard about this phenomenal teacher that's at the community college. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just sign up, you know, because I took like a 2-hour workshop at a local studio. And anyway, so she told me about this amazing teacher. And when I went to go look it up, it's like 5 hours a week, Ellen, for 4 months. And I
Wow.
first thought, like, there's no way, like, I cannot spend that kind of time, like, just for fun, and then I sat with that for a moment and I was like, why can't I do that? Like, I could probably shuffle some things around and I could actually do it. So PS, I start class as an art major next week.
Good for you.
You know, and I don't know why I'm so inclined to do it other than I've wanted to do it. And I think just that curiosity is fun. And
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
I think if people can just be a little open to like what sounds really fun, or maybe on the flip side, what sounds like a little bit scary, you know?
Exactly. And you know, Alex, I don't know if you saw Alex's post last week, but she wrote that great post about, I don't know, there is zillions of hours in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And when I forget the number, but it was high. And when we are thinking about doing something like you just described, which really is a drop in the bucket compared to all the gazillion of hours in our lifetime,
Yeah.
you know, it feels so big. Like it feels like I can't do that. That would take up so much time, or what happens to my clients, or what happens to my kids, or what happens to this. But really, when we do take the time to do it, you have no idea. But you may not become a ceramicist. You may become a ceramicist. Actually, I have a friend who took a ceramics course and then went to Portugal, met this woman who was an amazing ceramicist. And she said, can I work with you for a month? And the woman said, yes. So she went and worked with her for a month as a you know, apprentice. And now she's moving to Portugal. So you never know what's going to happen.
Who knows?
By taking a step. But I think that's wonderful. And I think what I love about Wishbeads, and I'm wearing mine right now, is it's a reminder. You know, I look down at my wrist and I'm reminded of my journey, and I'm reminded of the power of thinking and projecting and wishing. And it's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that sometimes what you see, it surprises you.
Yes.
Because we all have these intellectual thoughts about what I want to do or what my wish is. And I totally have them too. I have like, I mean, you can call them wishes, you can call them strategic goals, you can put them in different categories.
Sure.
But there's something about the visualization process where you are actually invited to see a moment where you're living your wish that just may surprise you.
No
because
question.
The invitation is to come from deep within you, like, you know, this inner knowing, that insight, and just being curious about it. I was leading a wish circle very recently at Macy's. The Wishbeads is featured at Story, which is this really cool kind of shop inside of Macy's. And there was like 30 women there. And there was one woman during the visualization that I could see that she was like sitting there like crying. And afterward, I asked people if they would feel so moved to share their wish. And because that's actually a pretty powerful step too, just sort of saying it out loud. And so she said, I have to share because it just was so odd and surprising to me, but that I actually saw myself with a child, like I was with a child. And I've never thought I've wanted a child. And so it really took me by surprise. Now that's kind of a big one, right? I mean, that's a big thing. And I don't know her circumstance. I don't know her. And so my only thought, my only kind of feedback to her was that like, okay, this is a big one. So you may want to just sit with it, but just open yourself up to feel the energy of like the baby world. Because so often we put ourselves in these little boxes, you know, I'm this, I'm not that. And so I will walk into, let's say this is a very simple example. I'm a mom of 2 boys. And literally when I would go into Toys R Us or other stores, I would see whole rows of pink stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, nope, not for me. Like just because there's some way that your mind has to delineate, you know, because there's so much input coming in. But that goes with so many things. Like if I see a barbecue joint, I'm like, that's not me. I'll head over to the vegetarian place. Now, sometimes that can be a good thing, but sometimes if we're not thinking about it, we just stay in our lane. You know, we just stay with the road that we've always been on. So maybe this woman who's always sort of labeled herself as like, I don't want kids, never wanted kids. This experience opened up, it just cracked open another possibility. And so my only sense was, okay, well, if you've always walked by a baby department and you've never felt, and you know, and you've never even thought to go in, maybe this time just go and walk around, just feel the energy of that and just see what it does to you. Maybe that visualization meant an actual baby or not.
Right.
But just open yourself up to different experiences in a loving and curious way.
Yes. And that's what we call, when I do this work, we call it prototyping. It means you go out in the world, so you have something rise up in you. All of a sudden, I want to think about experiencing what it would be like to have a child. And you go and you start talking to people that have children, and you talk to people that don't have children, and you maybe go hold babies and work in, volunteer in a nursery school for a week, but you try it on to see if it's something that really appeals to you, and it might not. Part of the thing about design is that sometimes it doesn't work. Failure is a good thing. And it may be that once you've tried it, once you've experienced it, it's not even something you want to do, but at least you let it play out.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there's that weird false notion that you're just supposed to know all the time.
And you don't.
I just don't think there's any way we can know all the time about anything.
Exactly.
I think that, just that moving forward with, I don't know, I just keep going back to the word curiosity. Is just, it gives you the humility to ask questions.
Yes.
And the sort of, excitement of learning something new. That's all.
And, Liz Gilbert, the author, talks often about, she has that wonderful book, Big Magic. I don't know if you've read it. And she talks about curiosity and how we get so hung up on passion. What is my passion? What am I supposed to be doing? What is the meaning in my life? But really, it's about, what are you curious about? And you follow that curiosity like you're doing with the ceramics, and you see where it leads. Now, it may lead you to have a passion. It may lead to something you don't even know about.
It may lead to my new mug collection.
It may lead to your new mug collection. It may lead to everybody getting mugs for Christmas next year.
Yeah.
Who knows? But one of the things that I've done in my life, when I was an attorney way back when, and I was practicing death penalty law, and I had my kids were little at the time, and I loved what I was doing, but I was reading about rapes and murders all day long, and I couldn't do it anymore. And so one day I was reading in the newspaper. I lived down in Monterey, Carmel at the time, and I saw this article about a school garden project that was being created at UC Santa Cruz, and they were having a workshop the following day. I had never put my hands in the dirt. I had never even thought about gardening, but there was something about that article that I went, that's really pretty interesting. And I wasn't even actively looking yet. I was just in my mind thinking, you really should change things around. So I went to this workshop, which was also unusual. I had these two kids at home. It was like a thing to take a Saturday at the last minute and say, I'm out of here for the day. Yeah. And I did, and I was just hooked. There was something about the right side of my brain just all of a sudden having this liberation and being on these carts outdoors and in the dirt. So it led to actually probably, the next 12 years of my life.
Wow.
I convinced my son's second grade teacher to go take the workshop. We brought them to the school. We built a school garden. I became a master gardener. I became a landscape designer, a floral designer. But ultimately, I kept coming back to the school garden. And when my older son, got to middle school, there was this 10-acre piece of land that was devoid of habitat. It was a Christmas tree farm. And there was a teacher at the school who was an ornithologist, and he used to bring the kids down to Big Sur to, identify birds. So he just wanted to put some habitat on this land. And I, in that moment, had this vision, what it could look like. And I said to him, oh my God, we've got to do a garden, and we've got to do this, and we've got to do that. And he said, if you can raise some money, go for it. So we raised a tiny little bit of money, and we started, and ultimately we raised over $5 million, and it became a nonprofit, and it became this big thing with gardens and outdoor cooking classrooms and habitat and birds. And it was, but
That's so cool.
it was really cool. But I didn't know what I was doing. I never really said, okay, then the next step I need, each day I'd say, well, I guess I better raise money because of this, or I guess we have a staff now, so I need to figure out how to support them. But I always had that vision, the Wishbead vision of like what I saw in that moment of what it could look like, that like, moment. Yeah. And so in the many, many times that I would say, what am I doing? This is like crazy. I would remember that vision and it would just ground me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. It's so cool. I really, really love that. And I think that listening to your body and what lights you up is just, I mean, that is your best sort of guiding principle that you can use in your life. And for people that are still feeling stuck, like actually like to dial it back for a moment. If you're feeling like you haven't felt that in a while, then it's kind of a great time to kind of pause and say like, well, where am I? Where am I actually choosing to put my energy? And of those activities, what is draining my battery and what is lifting me up? And then you just have to simply do a little less of the things that are drowning, you may be a habit or whatever, less of those, more things to sort of, just get you amped up in the other direction, just so you can have enough energy to be open to the possibility of those like, kind of, fully electric moments when something clicks and you're like, yeah, I want that. I want that.
No question. And it happens every single time. There is a point in the process where people discover something and and whether or not they end up doing it, that's not really the point. They discover that they have dreams, and they discover that they could be a different person, and they discover that they could have a work life, or it's not even only about work. It's about your play, and it's about your health, and it's about your love, and it's about your work. And how do you feed those different sections, those different parts of your life? And sometimes it's a matter of, what's the smallest thing I can do? Well, maybe I'll like take a walk every morning and I'll listen to podcasts, or maybe I'll like start going to yoga 2 or 3 times a week. And it's just breaking our habit. And it's like getting off the couch and breaking the mold of like complacency. This is my life, and I guess I just have to live with it.
Exactly.
To make you realize that you have the power to live a wonderful life.
You really do. I had an interview with this amazing woman, Megan Murphy, who actually was just named the top editor at Women's Day magazine. And she was sharing her story with me that she was kind of, you would never know this. She's literally she's like a spark plug. She's so much energy, one of the happiest people I've ever met. But she was sharing that she was a super grumpy person. And when her dad died, he had pancreatic cancer and was like diagnosed and gone within 5 months. She was devastated and started something called Operation Good Grief. And it was about finding one positive thing a day to get herself through it, because she was like, she had 3 little kids and the whole thing, and really was like, I've got to find my way through the darkness. And in this practice, it eventually evolved from grief to something that she called the yay list, which was like, what are you going to say yay to every day? And she and I were talking about the fact that this really can be a habit that you can cultivate. And that it is, sometimes your belief is so strong that, like, just as you said, this is the way it is, this is my lot in life, I just can't see my way through it. But if you go back to how simple it is every day to just make one tiny shift, you're retraining those neurotransmitters in our brain that are just, the habit of reaching for the phone when you wake up in the morning, or the habit of fill in the blank, whatever you do that might be draining your battery. All it is to stop it in the moment and do something else. And then suddenly you're building these other pathways, these other habits. And if people can reclaim that and kind of like get excited by that, there is possibility there, to shift things and again, be curious enough to try it.
Yes.
It's so exciting.
So
it's so
exciting.
exciting.
And also realizing that you're worth it. You deserve it. It's like what I said on my website, you know, you filling yourself up, and we don't always do this. We often don't, but then you remember, like, I deserve to live a good life, and I deserve to do things that I love, and I deserve to be happy. And the actions that you take during the day, whether not only for yourself, but also kindness towards other people, they just allow you the momentum to really change your life.
I love that. I love that, because we're here now, you know, it's
Yes.
not some future state when you have all this new time. You're here now and
Exactly.
enjoy it right now. You deserve it.
Exactly. And then when things happen, you know, so sadly a few weeks ago when Kobe died, and like, what a tragedy to see somebody at the top of his life and his daughter and all those people just perish in a second. Life can change on a dime. So
for sure.
Live our best lives, then if not now, when?
Yeah. And when you really think about it, like, what are we so afraid of? I actually had a moment, Ellen, I want to talk to you about it. I had a moment recently when I was in New York, and I don't want to say who necessarily, but I had an opportunity to give Wishbeads to a very, very, very big media person, and who I bumped into, and the opportunity opened and I said yes. But what was fascinating to me about it was the fact that my heart was really going.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what is that? Because, and I'm just being like really honest here, because one, I totally believe 100% in Wishbeads. I believe that we are all the same. And this is really this is the part that really is interesting to me about breaking down this moment. We are all the same. Everybody, human beings, all the same amount of light. This idea that we all are one. I don't think that this is some spiritual notion that you're reading in a book. It's true. Every person deserves the happiness, success, whatever in the world.
Absolutely.
And then in that moment, I saw her and I was like, oh my God, it's such and such. I have to go give her Wishbeads. And I could feel my heart going, but I did it. You know, I'm a, you know, seize the day kind of woman. And so I went and I did it, and it actually went really well, and it was all good. But afterward, in reflection, I was like, what was that business about my heart racing? Because if I really truly, it was like a little bit of a touch of my own fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a good opportunity for me to step back and say, what part of me is still feeling a little bit less than, or a little bit artificially putting this person up on some pedestal? And remember, I mean, I've worked with a lot of celebrities. So It's not like I'm someone who's, you know, intimidated by celebrities. But I thought, wow, isn't that interesting that somewhere in the consciousness of where I am on my journey, I still am feeling that what is that? And I thought, what a great moment, instead of feeling embarrassed about it inwardly, like I'm telling this world now I'm telling this publicly.
Right.
I thought, that's so fascinating. Where can I go deeper and release just a little bit more fear? Because it's so unnecessary. The woman is just me. The same.
I love it. I mean, it's exciting, and I love you like dug into it and looked at it and, you know, changed, try to make like a little internal shift, because and yeah, of course we all get swayed by celebrity. We just do.
Yeah.
You know, you were a celebrity.
I don't think I was ever a celebrity, maybe to my mother.
But still, you know, we do. We watch the Academy Awards. We look at the dresses people are wearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for you.
But I think it's interesting, like we think, and I'll just break this down a little bit further, and because we're talking about this idea of your you know, evolving or changing your career or whatever. And I think there's this notion, and especially this was true when I was an actress, as if there was some magical person who's going to sweep in and change everything. You know what I mean? And I was so close so many times in my acting career of being the next like lead on some primetime show. You know, I was always like guest actor, you know, guest star. And so many times up for the main person, and then it went away. And so there was this like reality of some executive not choosing you. And it wasn't always you, it was because of circumstances or whatever. It was the industry. But you can feel how there's still maybe an imprint in me that there's some person, that's perceived to be more powerful than me, that's going to like green light my dream. And I thought, no, I trust, and I deeply do trust that this moving forward and planting, like taking positive steps every day, nurturing my vision of helping people through Wishbeads, it will come to fruition in time.
Yes.
It will.
What is I have a couple of things I want to say. One, I think we sometimes value certain jobs or people that do certain things more than others. And I personally believe whether you're making t-shirts, whether you're designing earrings or beads, whether you're leading a nonprofit, whether you're running for president, as you say, we're all humans. We're all, and we're just following our own path. And doing one thing is not necessarily better than the other, as long as we do it with integrity, as long as we do it with passion, as long as we give back to the world in which we live. And I think all things are pretty equal. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is, what is your big wish for Wishbeads?
Oh, I love this question. Because it's really actually how I measure everything that I do. And my big wish, and it's in my wish bead that I wear every day, I've worn it for 2 years, is this one, matte black onyx. And in this, I am imagining, I have seen a big event that I'm hosting. It's a live concert, and it is live streamed, and we have over 1 million people wishing at once.
Okay.
And to that end, I have been doing big, bold, and somewhat scary things. And one of the things that I did was I did this phenomenal songwriter's journey, because I will send you a link to this song. I think by the time this podcast goes live, well, just check in my Wishbeads world, because I'm actually going to do a song launch. But it scared the pants out of me.
Are you singing?
Well, no, I sing in my car and I sing in the shower, but I went to an event sometime last year, and these incredible men, they're called, they're the brothers Corin, and they previously had a band called The Kin, but they're brothers out of Australia. They're phenomenally talented and just amazing human beings. And they did a concert where all these people had gone through this process they have called Your Big Voice. And it basically is taking people that are non-singers, taking them through a 6-week coaching practice and having them reflect on their life through song, then ultimately come up with creating their own song, and then wait for it, professionally recording it in their music studios in Ojai, California. And when I went to the concert to hear all these people sing, and some of them like really had phenomenal voices and some of them were pretty good, but what was so moving is it was like them. It was like they were going for it. And so talking about putting yourself in a box. So while I'm sitting there, I was like, that's so great for them. Like, I would never do that, but that's amazing. I think that's awesome. Like, go them. And immediately it was like, that is not for me. And then afterwards they're talking and they're like, if you're someone who likes to sing in the shower, and I'm like, check, or sing in the car, check, who have like music has played like a big part of your life, check. You've all like, and all these things that they said, I was like, well, by gum, maybe that is me. They're like, you should, schedule a call with us. Now, one of the big things that I felt in that moment too was that I was going to somehow involve these men in my wish concert that I want to do, this Wishbeads 1 million wish event for sure. So I thought to myself in like classic Alexa way, I'll do the call with them and it'll be like my opportunity to tell them about this other concert that they have to be involved in because their spirits are just like magical. But of course, I'm talking to them and I'm like, okay, this scares me and excites me at the same time. And that little edge of fear and excitement means that I have to just go for this thing and try it. And Ellen, it is one of the best things I've ever done. I learned so much about myself. I, at one point, like downloaded this poem that I'm actually turning into a children's book that I thought was going to be lyrics, but it ended up not being lyrics. And more than that, I mean, when I went to Ojai to sing this song, it was so much fun. I mean, so much fun. And so part of like, I think part of what when I think about going back to your original question about what is my big wish, is that I am so passionate about teaching people about the power that every single person has inside themselves to be this vehicle for change. I'm like, it looks like I'm a jewelry company, but I'm not a jewelry company. I'm a wish company. And so the idea that we can all come together this is where I go to as my contribution to the world. Because as people are despairing over the environment or politics, or right now we're in the heat of the virus situation in Asia and now around the world, is that you can feel so powerless. And I believe that when we all come together and we have that internal awakening, whether in this case, I'm imagining we're going to wish around peace, but if we are imagining peace within our families, peace within our communities, a peace for our world, this is actually how we change the world. This is my piece of that.
And I actually see you, yes, you're a wish company, but you're a manifestation. You help people manifest.
Yeah.
In the same way that I help people manifest. We do it in different ways.
Yeah.
But you help people start with like a little seed of something and manifest it into something huge. You started out with a little seed of an idea. And at some point we are going to be watching you on stage with millions of people manifesting this million people
wish event. Yeah. And I literally say this, to everybody. And in the beginning, it just seemed ridiculous. And the more that I say that over and over again, it doesn't seem ridiculous at all. It seems like, I don't know, there's like billions of people in the world. I'm sure we can get 1 million of them to show up. And, it doesn't seem so crazy. And I know that even though there's probably a lot of factors that have to come into play, I really trust, which was why, Ellen, it was so interesting in that moment when I felt my heart racing. I thought, what little shred inside of me is not fully trusting? Because we all have those moments where you just get out of your comfort zone, and that heart beating is your indication of where you've got to get curious about where you need to let go. Because I'm not doing this you can imagine, I'm not really doing this event in a way like for me and my career. So if I'm more invested in helping people, then it's part of my responsibility to go deeper within and say, okay, is there some to go, who's not totally on board inside inner Alexa world? And let's heal that. Let's release that. Let's try to move through that with some techniques. And so that when those moments appear, there's no resistance.
Exactly.
There's no resistance.
The right person and the right moment and the right, synergy comes together, you're going to be right there. Were these guys interested in your idea? These songs?
Oh yeah. They're totally interested. Oh my God. I have so many amazing musician friends. Everyone's all in. And it's such a beautiful, I'm so honored and so grateful that so many of my musician friends, I think there's so much power in song. And I'm going to scare the pants out of myself and sing my song at this event. And it's not like I'm building some sort of singing career, but I just think that there's power in song, there's healing in song, there's vibration in song. And so that's integral to the event itself. And we'll see what happens. I'm right now planning the next event in September of 2020. So some of the details, like every day I work on a little bit. So some of the details are coming up. I'm kicking around, today, but it's coming into focus, September 2020.
Big, a Wishbead event, or what kind of event?
Yeah, Wishbead event. So even if it takes multiple of these Wishbead concerts, I think I'm a big believer that like you can have the big one. Like, great. If we get 1 million people by September 2020, awesome. If we get 50,000 people tuning in September 2020, awesome. Because it takes, I'm a big believer in making very specific goals with timelines and things like that. But I also think you really hold yourself open to the possibility of just taking action and seeing what happens. So that's my next target date for my big Wishbeads event, and we will see. We will see.
I'm excited to be there.
Yes. It'll be really fun, and I think that anything is possible. And I now have looked back on my life at the chapters that my career has evolved. And instead of feeling like I did, when I was kind of easing out of my acting career and it created this sense of panic, actually, I'm in kind of my 3rd chapter of my career. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen next.
So great. And Jane Fonda I love Jane Fonda. And
I love Jane Fonda.
And this is a woman, I don't know if you saw the documentary, I think it was on HBO, but it was about the 3 acts. She's now in her 4th act. And she just a few months ago heard Greta Thunberg, the environmentalist, speaking, and she was just had a moment where she said, I've got to do this. She packed up, she moved to Washington, D.C. for 4 months. She got herself arrested every single Friday. And, there are all those great pictures are being taken away. And she has totally changed her life. The other night at the Academy Awards, she wore a dress that she'd worn before. She's never going to buy new clothes again. I mean, she's really walking the walk and talking as only Jane Fonda does. But what is just so amazing about her is the way she just embraces each stage of her life.
Yeah. And it's great because I think when more people are out there sharing the truth of their journeys, the more people get permission to do the same thing in their own lives and inspiration. And for me, just like you with the Wishbeads, for me, the more people that are living authentic lives and doing work that feeds them and doing work that not only feeds them, but feeds the people around them, literally and figuratively, but just makes them joyful and makes them happy and makes them want to bounce out of bed in the morning, I think the better this world will be. Totally. Now, Ellen, before we wrap up, I'm just curious, do you have a big wish that you want to share?
Well, that's one of them. Personally, I really I've been hungering to do something more creative. I love my work, but I'm also wanting to have a creative project in my life.
Nice.
And I'm not quite sure. I love people's stories. I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories. I had a series, an interview series called How Did You Do That? Where I would just talk to, I met a woman standing online at Whole Foods and the line was long and I said, what do you do? And she made violins. People have amazing stories.
Yeah.
I just love hearing them. So I'm wanting to do something bigger with that. And I'm just sort of playing with what does that look like? Is that a podcast? Is that a book? What is that?
Yeah. So
that's sort of where I'm at right now.
Nice. Well, I wish you luck with that.
Thank you.
I have no doubt you'll pull it off.
Thank you.
Nice.
And I have no doubt that you're going to pull off your wish and your dream.
Yeah, this is fun. And you know what? We're going to keep going with, just the fact that we're doing it means that we're not going to regret not trying.
And I say to your listeners, if there is something that's whispering to you, if there is something that is, that when you wake up in the morning, you're wanting your life to feel different or look different, just take the plunge and go for it. You have absolutely nothing to lose.
Awesome. I think that's awesome advice. And to everybody listening, on all the show notes, we're going to have links to Ellen's website. She does work with clients privately. She has an amazing workbooks. She has all kinds of cool stuff going on. You can also follow her upcoming creative project. So just be in touch with her. She's got a newsletter as well, ellenfondiler.com, and you'll see links to her in the notes. And Ellen, thank you for taking the time to be on the Wishbeads podcast. What an honor to chat with you.
Thank you, Alexa. It's been an honor for me, and I'm so thrilled that you asked me to be here.
Yay. All right, everybody, have an awesome week.